What's good? Welcome back to UrbanX TV. I'm Malcolm, and I'm here to give you a book review, book breakdown on this book right here, Deep Work, Rules for Focus, Success in a Distracted World. Is by Newport, and he's written a bunch of other books, but I wanted to discuss this one specifically. Now, before we get started, I want to remind everybody to subscribe if you already haven't, and if you already have not, go also check out the blog at urbanx.nyc where I gave an in-depth written review of this book as well. Now, this book is about the way humans are losing the ability to focus on a given task for more than a couple minutes, right? The author Cal Newport, he coins the term deep work as a sort of trance-like state you go in when you are able to actually get lost in your work for hours on end without distraction from emails, social media, text messages, and things like that. And this book, what he does is he's trying to create, this book is an argument to why deep work is actually a way to go rather than what he calls shallow work. And now he defines shallow work as work that can be done haphazardly with distraction. You can have the TV on while you're typing something, and work that is easily replicated. Now, some of the claims he has in the book, he actually backs up with academic studies, statistical, proof, because Cal Newport, the author, he's a computer programmer. He's also a college professor, and he's an author. Deep Work is his fourth book. Now, he attributes his ability to do all of those things because he has the ability to go in and out of these, this zone, which he calls deep work, and really hone in and focus for and get the most out of his time. Now, a lot of times with social media, we think being busy is being productive when it's actually really not the case. If you're not, focused, and if you're not really trying to stretch the limits of what your brain can actually do when you are, honed in and, again, focused on a given task. So he breaks the book down into two parts, right? So the first part, it's called the idea. So he's actually trying to make the case of why deep work is important, why it's valuable, why it's rare, especially in the age of information, where jobs are being, farmed out to other places, and a lot of people's jobs are being able to be done by machines. So you have to be able to differentiate yourself from the pack and be able to do something that these machines can't do, or a lot of other people cannot replicate, at that. So what he's saying is the point he's trying to make is that we won't be able to do these things to solve these type of problems if we're not able to work deeply on something. So the example he gives, because he's a computer programmer, he gives the example of somebody who's trying to learn how to program a computer or get into that field, and how it can usually take years. It's supposed to take years to be able to master that craft and be able to do that job effectively. But he's saying that if you master the ability to go into these, these zones, that you can cut that time down, relatively speaking, down, shorter. So shorter can mean 5 years instead of 10. You know what I'm saying? He's not saying that it's gonna, take a year off. You're gonna be able to take a year and be able to be this master program. He's not saying that. But what he is saying is that this ability to, focus and actually, be able to cut your phone off and things like that, you will be able to see significant growth in your abilities in a short amount of time. I just said that again, but whatever. So the second part of the book, he gives the rules for it. Now, one rule I want to talk about specifically is rule number 3. The title of that chapter is called "Quit Social Media." So I can, me reading that chapter already, I was already kind of like, I don't know, but he makes the claim that with the internet, in our society, we've kind of tricked ourselves into thinking we actually need social media, and he highlights some of the, main responses, like, I use social media to connect with people, to, build my business, to, just to keep in touch with people I would never normally keep in touch with. And his argument is, he also gave a TED Talk that went by the same title. His argument is, when it comes to social media and connections, these social media platforms only promote shallow connections, meaning these are people that you would never really talk to, and these relationships are not really meaningful because they're only really through a screen. You know what I'm saying? If you really wanted to talk to somebody, you can actually, reach out, and the people that you do normally are really close with, those are the people you spend face-to-face contact with. Now, when he goes about social media and business, he talks about so he gives the examples of like Malcolm Gladwell and other authors, because he's also an author, so he's able to, make that connection. But he says that the fact that some of the biggest authors are not on social media that lends to the fact why they're so successful, because they're not fragmenting their attention to all of these social medias. They're not, worrying about, how many likes they get in the post, or the tweet, how their tweet is doing, or how things like that. They're more worried about focusing on that craft, like their research for the upcoming book, the actual writing, trying to perfect the writing, how the flow of, the books go and things like that. And then he says that the market will determine your value, like with anything else. Like, so the harder you work on perfecting your craft, the better the product will be, the more people will gravitate towards it. Now, I'm a writer at heart, so I'm also trying to create and write. So when I read this chapter, I was kind of, at a crossroads, because on one end, Urban X is, a blog platform, it's a YouTube channel, and it's a podcast. But at the same time, I'm also trying to, create the best quality content possible. So my argument to Cal Newport would be that for me to do my job effectively, I kind of need to be abreast of what's going on. Now, this Cal Newport's philosophy clashes directly with people like Gary Vee, because Gary Vee, who he constantly promotes the use of social media and having a strong social media presence. So, where does that put somebody who needs the media like myself to push, what they're doing forward? And I think, through reading this book and through going through it, I think it just comes down to self-discipline and self-control, and knowing when to use social media and when to shut it down, and be able to shut your phone off, put it across the room, and work on what you need to work on, and finish what you need to finish. So, with that being said, I thought this book was great, and I thought it was a great perspective on how we should be focusing on, our goals and how we should go about it. He talks about using social media as a tool more than just the main vehicle to, try to bypass the actual work. And also, this is also a misconception a lot of people have with like Gary Vee or somebody like that. Gary Vee talks about having a great social media presence, but he also talks about actually putting in the work. And, that's what Cal Newport is, that's his main argument. You know what I'm saying? So, I thought it was a great book. If you want to see my more in-depth review, go to urbanx.nyc. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and all that good stuff. And peace.